City Council.
So if I'm reading this correct, the only thing that we're going to be voting on is for last month's meeting minutes.
Yes, that's the only vote we have today, so pretty chill meeting. Some updates and thinking about forecasting for next year.
Okay. Do you expect the meeting to go the whole 2 hours?
No, and they're only supposed to be scheduled for 90 minutes anyways, so
It is, it's 10 to 11:30.
yeah. Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
We have a few folks that let us know that they're either gonna be absent today, not able to make it, or gonna be a few minutes late, so. You know, if you gotta refill that coffee cup or send that last email or something like that, I'd say. Now's your chance and we'll probably realistically.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna log off and log back in on a different system, okay?
Sounds good.
It's Noah that was gonna be absent.
Okay.
No.
If you're joining, I was just letting folks know that we had a few different people let us know that they're coming from another meeting to this one, so they'll probably be a few minutes late. So we'll probably realistically be able to get started with the quorum here closer to 10 or so. So if you want to refill your coffee cups in that last email, I'd say go for it. Now's your chance, and then we'll be able to call the roll and get started here in a few minutes. Thanks for joining. Hey, Martha, thanks for joining. I just let some other folks know that we got a couple emails from some of our other members letting us know that they're running from other meetings and are gonna join us a little bit late, so we're just kind of hanging out. We'll call a roll and get started probably closer to like 10:10. Hey, Jaja.
She said be right back.
Oh, okay.
We love.
Hey, Jaja, I was just letting folks know before you joined that we're gonna get started probably in a few more minutes. We're just waiting. There are a couple people who let us know that they were coming from another meeting before this one, so we just wanted to give them a chance to be able to join.
Thanks, Tom. I seen you and Catherine laughing, and so I thought, is my volume working? That's why I said that.
Oh, there's Dr. Sam.
All right, let's count. One,
Okay, voice check. I'm here now. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Technology is interesting.
We just need one more person, and so we know that both Kelsey and Elliot are gonna be able to join. They just let us know it might be a little bit closer to 10:15. So hang on to our hats and we'll be able to get started here in a few minutes. I just need one more person.
Thank you. Can I just take the time to say, I'm so happy to be back. I'm sorry I missed the last meeting. It's really important to me that you guys voted for me to be co-chair and for me to show up. So I just wanted to thank you for believing in me, and I am here and I am back. So it's really important that y'all know that your time wasn't wasted.
Thanks, Jaja.
I would like to be in Greece where Jaja is.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful. Hmm.
You are in
Vancouver.
Vancouver right now.
Little different than
Yes,
Greece.
I am, but I want to be in Greece. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Let's go.
Don't tempt me, Catherine.
All right. Hi, Kelsey.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I am doing well.
Nice. Well, thanks for joining us. Now that you have joined us, we're able to meet quorum. So I'll go ahead and get us kicked off. Let's start this meeting. Thanks everyone for waiting so patiently. Okay. All right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our December 2025 Coordinated Entry Committee meeting. It's the last meeting of the year. Wow. And what a year it has been. So thank you all for being with us for the journey. It's kind of hard to believe that it is already December. So thank you. As outlined in the King County Continuum of Care Charter, the Coordinated Entry Committee will oversee policies and procedures related to coordinated entry in King County. The CEC will be responsible for identifying and approving policies and procedures that guide the coordinated entry system in King County, and the King County Regional Homelessness Authority staff will be responsible for implementation of those policies and procedures. I would now like to invite our co-chair, Jaja Floyd, to read our theory of change.
Thank you. And it says, our theory of change. I can shrink it on my
Make it
screen.
bigger, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I made it too big. Now it's going to go down. Okay. So it says, if we create a homelessness response system that centers people with lived experience of homelessness, then we will be able to respond to the needs and eliminate inequities in order to end homelessness for all.
Cool. Thank you, Jaja.
Welcome,
Catherine, would you like to call the roll for us?
I will. Devin,
Present, thanks.
and Noah let us know that he would be absent. Eddie, I'll come back to Eddie. Martha,
Present.
Portia?
Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Oh, there you are. Thank you.
So, I don't know, the microphone wasn't working.
We got you. And Martha, I heard you. Portia,
Present.
Dr. Sam,
Present.
Elliot,
Present.
Kelsey,
Present.
Jaja,
Present.
Sherry Tillman, Finn. And we do know that Mustafa is going to be absent. Okay, so we have we have 8 members present. And 4 absent. Quorum has been met.
Wonderful. Thanks, Catherine.
You're welcome.
So it looks like I'm up. Can we approve the last month's meeting minutes? I'm sure we've all read them. Catherine has sent them out. And I'm going to abstain since I wasn't there. But if I can get a motion to approve last month's meeting minutes, please.
Motion. Patricia.
Second, Devin.
I'm sorry, who said that? Who presented the motion?
Dr.
Jaja
Oh.
permitted the motion. No, actually, I'm sorry, you're right. Dr. Sam permitted.
Yes.
Yes, and then Devin seconded.
Okay, thank you,
Curtis.
thank you.
You're welcome. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Or any opposed, say nay. And for any abstentions, Curtis, I will abstain since I was not there. But I did read the minutes.
Okay,
And it looks like the minutes have been approved. Back to you, Tom.
Great. Thank you, Jaja. All righty.
You're welcome.
All right. The next thing on our agenda is I have an exciting presentation, an update for you all from our Assessment Pilot Workgroup. So is everyone still seeing my screen and seeing these slides now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All righty. All right, so an update from our Assessment Pilot Workgroup. So the goals for this work group were to utilize an assessment to prioritize in coordinated entry rather than the current practice based on primarily hinging upon length of time homeless. Another goal of this process was to support and encourage a systematic process from the access portions of coordinated entry to referral, utilizing existing community resources. So in the effort to kind of develop a new assessment, we also wanted to look at saying, what are the pieces of our system, how people are accessing front doors and getting connected to navigation, and how can we ensure that people who are going to be assessed are also going to have the service connections they need to be referred to a resource. We also wanted to, through this effort, increase our cross-system collaboration. So weave in ways that we're kind of imbuing or supporting our coordinated entry system to be a little bit more naturally set up to be connecting with jail health services, our medical care and health response system, behavioral health, et cetera. So the first thing we did, and I've told you all, in the past updates, we've been in this phase, and this is kind of mostly what I've been telling you all about, is the landscape analysis that we did. So we looked at all across the United States, all the different continuums of care that don't use the VI SPDAT assessment, and we looked at the assessments that they use instead of the VI-SPDAT. And I was able to, with a lot of help from Kelsey, with a lot of help from our HUD TA, and feelers and contacts and connects, I was able to get copies of 4 different assessments that are VI-SPDAT alternatives that are in use through different COCs in the country. So one of the assessments that we reviewed, technically this one is not one that's used by a COC for coordinated entry prioritization, but there's the DESC vulnerability assessment tool, very well known to us in this community. Maybe not one that is used for prioritization in another coordinated entries COC. However, one that is, very well established as a tool for assessing vulnerability and prioritizing folks for resources. We looked at the Portland Multnomah County Multnomah Screening and Services Tool, the MSST. This is also acronym Bonanza. So I bolded them. So at this point, I'm very well familiar with them. So if I ever kind of go into acronym speak, just check me and I'll say the whole thing. So just let me know. The MSST, which is the Multnomah Screening and Services Tool, the Austin Echo COC, Austin Prioritization and Assessment Tool, or APAT as they refer to it, and then a tool created by the Center for Social Data Analytics, which is actually kind of out of the Southern Hemisphere, our friends down in Australia and New Zealand. I think it's the University of Auckland. And this one was an interesting one because it's less of an actual fulsome assessment, and it really has more to do with like a machine learning, like an AI predictive risk modeling technology that they use. And then the assessment itself is really more just kind of like a collection of questions or data points that can be customized for different communities, to be specifically tailored to a local community. But then what's uniform is like the machine learning tool they use to then kind of like predict risk based on the answers to those questions. So the copy of questions that we got were from Allegheny County, which is where the city of Pittsburgh is. And so those were because that's a place where they've implemented use of this predictive risk modeling in their COC in Allegheny County with Pittsburgh. So those were the different triaging tools and assessments that our work group looked at. We developed a uniform criteria for how we wanted to review the assessments. We screened all of them assessing them by assessing the assessments, looking at equity, ensuring that they were capturing homelessness history, ensuring that they were capturing what supports folks had available to them already and what supports folks wanted or needed. We wanted to ensure that the assessments or triaging tools were doing a good job at capturing people's health histories, both physical and behavioral health needs. We wanted to ensure that the tools were going to be having screening questions to identify folks who might be coming from marginalized populations disproportionately impacted by homelessness. We wanted to ensure that they were incorporating data points or questions about domestic violence or intimate partner violence. And really one of our huge overarching goals was to ensure that this was going to be a triaging tool that was really focusing on aligning high needs individuals with the services we have in our community that are intended to serve high needs individuals. So we met several times, really more than several times, every other week throughout the end of the summer, all the way through the fall, looking at these tools, reviewing them according to these criteria, noting common trends, assessing the different domains, ensuring that the tools were getting to the different domains, and talking about what we would want to do to incorporate these different domains and questions into our own local triaging tool. The results that we came to as a group and the decisions that we made from those results were to incorporate elements of these different triaging tools and assessments that we found to be critically necessary for our local community into a revised version of our already existing housing triage tool. And that will be constructed to pilot. So we will pilot this kind of like new revised housing triage tool with the incorporated elements from these other VI SPDAT alternative tools. We also decided that we wanted to, as a community, do something that we haven't done before with this pilot initiative, which is to take a phased approach for assessments, and have one tool that will be our initial triaging tool, to be identifying kind of like that problem solving and diversion type of conversation, screening folks for kind of lower barrier interventions, or identifying kind of other more rapidly available resources that folks might need to immediately resolve their housing crisis. And then if through this kind of like first phase of triaging that it is revealed that those interventions won't assist someone immediately, or that through the triaging it's clear that this is a higher needs individual that's going to need more intensive services, then we would also weave into this a second phase of an assessment. And when we talked about that, this group decided that we would like to pilot the use of the kind of smaller, like if you will, miniature version of the vulnerability assessment tool that DESE has created. This is something that decision came from past experience in our community. So we've used that tool in the coordinated entry system in the past to tie break. So in case conferencing in the past, when people were prioritized for housing either through their vulnerability, their VI SPDAT assessment, or the previous COVID prioritization, and then when folks were prioritized for housing, if more than one household was nominated to a resource in case conferencing, the miniature VAT assessment was used to tie break. So not to, it's kind of like a little bit of a technical difference. So the mini VAT's never been used to prioritize people, but it was used to tie break when one or more, when more than one prioritized household was nominated for a resource, right? So we've used it in our system before. It's also in use now currently, like DESE uses it to help screen eligibility for their housing resources. And this is something that they've been working with us on throughout the year on a couple of their lease up initiatives for Clover Place, for Stevens Place, different projects that have been leased up by DESE this year. It's also something that the community uses outside of the coordinated entry system for referrals to emergency shelter. So it's also a tool that the community is using to help prioritize folks for emergency shelter beds, not in the coordinated entry system, but in the City of Seattle and also community referral system for emergency shelter beds. So the work group kind of talked about all of those different data points and decided to say, let's include that tool. I don't think you can call it an assessment. It's more of a tool to incorporate as like a second phase of helping to prioritize people once it's been identified by the first phase that there's someone who's going to need a more intensive intervention to resolve their housing crisis, that they should just receive that tool to help prioritize people for those more intensive permanent supportive housing resources. The last decision that the Assessment Pilot Workgroup made was to delegate authority to me to construct all of the feedback points and data points that we have about all of the questions from the non-VI assessments to construct this pilot like housing triage tool, and then incorporate the mini VAT into the second phase of that. So next steps. Since that authority has been delegated to me, I now have a project to work on, which is to assemble, which I've already started to do. I'm working on constructing this new housing triage tool. And then once that is constructed, I have been actively working with our HUD TA consultant to design like a rigorous review process. And this review process would be before the actual pilot process itself. So you can think that if, the tool that we design through this process would be brought, if this group in 2026 decides to vote to bring this tool to the community, it will have been vetted twice. Once through a rigorous review process, and then the second, like the pilot process, is another form of evaluation, rather than just kind of like debuting it broadly to the coordinated entry community like at first. And so the review process, the assessment pilot work group needs to review the tool. Our HUD TA team will review the tool. We'll have KCRHA executive leadership review the tool. And it's also very important to me and important to us that we are able to convene a team of lived experts to review the tool as well. And even I think before pilot testing the tool with the broader community, I think something that could be a good practice would be to even like not just have the tool be like reviewed, but also kind of have some pilots like use of the tool before even kind of like piloting it with the community, right? So having like a real rigorous review process before we even vote to move forward with the pilot evaluation itself. Once that process is completed, we'll bring that product through the review process, will be brought back to this group for you all to vote whether or not to implement a pilot evaluation live, like with the community, and we'll go from there. So now another piece of this too is actually designing the pilot evaluation itself. So that was like the review process for the tool. Whatever tool we end up voting on to pilot, we also need to design the evaluation piece of this process. And so the assessment pilot work group is going to be working with our HUD technical assistance provider, as well as a UW evaluator from their information school who's agreed to sign on and assist us with this evaluation. So his name is Pele Tracy. He's already been able to join one of our assessment pilot work group meetings. He met the team last week or the week before. And we're very excited to work with him. He is a qualitative researcher who's new faculty with the information school at UW, who's worked personally as like a provider with coordinated entry and people experiencing homelessness in the past, and also did his dissertation on coordinated entry. So it's a big area of interest for him, and he's really excited to be working with us on this project. So that's exciting. We need to identify the pilot sample populations. So we need to be looking at when we're piloting and designing this evaluation, what are the front doors going to be, and then what are the housing stock, what are the units that we're going to be using to case conference the folks who are going to be participating in this pilot initiative. Then we also need to kind of finalize and formalize the like requisite governance structures that we need to, have like vote and approve the evaluation. So certainly this group and likely the COC board as well. So I kind of already spoke about this a little bit. So Like I said, we'll have Pele working with us. That's exciting. We'll also have our research and data team on board with this as well to provide the quantitative element of our evaluation. So we'll be taking a mixed methods approach. Pele's area of expertise is really qualitative data and information. So we'll have kind of like, it'll be great. We'll have a good mixed methods approach for the evaluation. And that's my presentation. So now we have some time for questions, comments, questions. Yeah. Jaja.
I just want to say thank you for the presentation, Tom, and thank you for the work done by the APW. It looks like it's going to be an exciting thing, and I'm glad that we have taken the time to see what would be the most effective way to assess people, because people are very important to us, and we want to make sure that we have the best tools available to them. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jaja. Yeah, seriously, shout out to the work group. There's a bunch of people here who are really committed and have busy lives and busy jobs, and they make time every 2 weeks to meet with me and take extra time from their work to support this initiative. So that's been huge. So really, I really want to thank the work group members for all the time that they've committed to helping with this. It's huge. Dr. Sam.
I also wanted to say thank you for the presentation, Tom, and the update, and thanks to the work group, everybody who had, hands-on and shared their, was able to invest in putting this together. It sounds like some good stuff that's happening for the review, and just looking at what's been working, what we can improve. Thank you so much for that. And I did hear that you mentioned the VAT, yes, which is a tool that we at DESC use for our own housing sites. And so you may be implementing some of those tools. I would like to ask is, will the VAT also be a requirement for the coordinated entry, or are you just pulling some of the pieces to form the assessment tool? And shout out to the UW, who's got the lived experience, who will be reviewing this. Yes, awesome. Anyway, that's just my sharing. Excited.
Thank you, Dr. Sam. It was a little, your audio was like a little bit muddled, so I think you had a question there about is the VAT going to be a requirement for people in coordinated entry?
Yes.
Not necessarily. So one, right now, what we're talking about is just for like a pilot initiative. So even if this group votes to approve moving forward with this evaluation, nothing would be required for anyone. Nothing would change about how people access coordinated entry in general to ensure that they are on a path to be connected to housing if it is available to them through coordinated entry. Nothing would change about that. What this group would be deciding first is, do we want to pilot a new potential tool for the community that would then change how coordinated entry operates and functions. But the first step is just a pilot experiment to evaluate the effectiveness and efficiency of this tool for prioritizing households versus our current system now. So we want to do like a comparison, an evaluative experiment to compare this potential new pathway against, what we are doing now. And within that pilot project, a full VAT assessment, even within the proposed structure, would not be a requirement for coordinated entry. The mini VAT would be a piece of how our system would function, but it would only be for folks who are completing the first assessment, and through that the first triaging tool, and through that initial triage, it's identified that you might need permanent supportive housing or a more intensive resource than diversion, rapid rehousing, or like housing with without supports, or like low income housing, you know what I mean? Like something more intensive and robust to resolve your homelessness situation. If through the first phase of the triaging tool, it's looking like that's more the type of intervention for you, then it would be recommended that you complete the mini VAT assessment, so that if you want to be considered for permanent supportive housing resources, you have that tool completed so we can prioritize you for PSH. Does that make sense? Is that a bit of more clear explanation? Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, great question. Thank you. Alrighty. Anybody else? Okay. Well, thanks, everybody. We can move along to the next piece of our agenda, which is to talk about next year. It's December. January is upon us. And I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of forecasting the calendar, so we can kind of start to get some broad strokes ideas about, timing, and just kind of getting an idea of agenda and kind of like items that we have looking forward to next year. So I think obviously the biggest thing that's going to be on our minds and on the calendar next year is finishing the work to prepare for the triaging tool pilot initiative, and then ensuring that we are on track with our meetings and like the work that we need to prepare, so that we are like lining up to make sure that when we're ready to go with this, that it's before a meeting and we'll be able to vote, and that everyone will be able to be here, so we have quorum and like can vote and keep this moving along. So I think for me, when I'm thinking about that, what the work group has been talking about is, I think a lot of that is going to be Q1 and Q2. In my mind, I'm thinking that it would be incredible if we are able to be moving forward with piloting something for the triaging tool initiative by the end of Q2 in 2026. That would be magnificent. So just something for you all to keep in mind. We have our meetings January, February, let's see. So the January meeting is the 22nd. The February meeting will be the 26th. So just kind of putting those dates out there, January 22nd, February 26th, to maybe kind of, if you can, already start to be like bookmarking your calendars to ensure that we'll be able to all be here to work together on those things, because I think there'll be some critical like updates and probably votes in there to be voting to like approve the work that's done over the next couple of weeks and be able to move forward. So I think for the triaging tool pilot, Q1 and Q2 are going to be very big for us. The other thing that's on my mind for next year are our data updates. So a huge thing for our research and data team right now is ensuring that all of their resources and time right now is going to ensuring that we have a successful and smooth point in time count, unsheltered point in time count, which is going to be happening at the end of January and the beginning of February. And so I have been talking with them about ensuring that for 2026, that we are on track to ensure that I'm getting you all the quarterly data updates that we need to have to make sure that this group can do its foundational work of analyzing that data and then using it to make decisions to tell our team what we need to do to implement some structures to improve some efficiency and effectiveness. And so really my goals there are to ensure that, again, I think on this front, like quarters 1 and 2 are going to be huge for us. To be looking forward to having the products that we need in order to be able to give you all those updates. I think just setting some realistic expectations with our research and data team, and the fact that the unsheltered point in time count is such a huge logistical and organizational lift for them in January, that, you know, I think that what I'm looking at with them to ensure that we're kind of back on track with this is really like mid-February, like we'll be hitting the ground running with that. So I would say January, I'm really thinking more like, let's get this assessment pilot kind of really cruising and moving along. And then like February and March would be wonderful. Is my goal to be able to be getting with you all to say like, okay, let's also, we have the assessment pilot, that's going to be, you know, that's being worked through. Let's also start to look at some data and talk about some other areas for strategic planning. With that, I would say too, I would love to hear from you all as a group. I know that when I moved into this role and started meeting with you all, that I took some feedback and questions about like, when we are looking at data, what are the different kinds of data points that you'd like to see? I have some notes from, I think it was about a year ago, maybe even at this point, almost a year and a half ago of what you all told me, but we also have some new members now. So I think something that I'm thinking of now that I'll do is with Catherine is maybe we'll send out another like email to you all. And I can ask some like structured questions of like, as I do start to work with our research and data team on like really building some like sustainable tools that I can get things to you regularly. What are some of those data points that we want to see? And maybe we can like, you know, reach out to folks and get that feedback too. So.
Maybe a survey.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Any questions or comments on either of those kind of two topics in schedule forecasting so far? Cool. The other thing that I had on my mind is once we start to think about coordinated entry, system performance data, and this group's role in looking at that for effectiveness and efficiency, I also wanted to invite you all or like join me in framing this or thinking about it too as a way to also help play a lead for our continuum of care with like program performance and like program monitoring in a way. You know, like the data that we'll be looking at, and a way to think about coordinated entry data is that it is the connective tissue of actually how our system is performing. You know, I kind of think of things as like we have individual program performance, and then coordinated entry data is also like system performance. And our Kelsey, you know, our own committee member here, does a lot of work in her role as the COC manager to provide some overarching structure, and Catherine too, to calendar out for the year, looking at when do we need to do like our quarterly reporting? What are the reporting periods? What are we seeing? What are we talking about? How is that being socialized with the COC board? And a goal that I had for this group for this year is starting to do a little bit more synchronization with not just looking at kind of coordinated entry system data like in a vacuum or in a silo, but kind of looking at that too with and keeping in mind, okay, these are the contract reporting periods. How is that maybe informing decisions, or when are we looking at if we know that there's a decision that we want to make about the direction that the system should go in, just keeping in mind, okay, there's a COC, the COC board meets, for example, when is it, Catherine, the first
Wednesday of every month. Mhm.
And so kind of knowing that, like, we meet the last Thursday of the month, and knowing that the COC board meets the first Wednesday of the month, there's usually like a 1.5 to 2 week gap period there between our meeting and a decision that we can make, and then a COC board meeting. So just, you know, I'm trying to approach looking at the year with that kind of structure in mind, and just knowing that, thinking about decisions that we want to make from system performance, and also the like overall COC board governance structure. So we don't have necessarily any kind of like hard goals or deadlines yet, aside from like the assessment pilot work group. But just keeping in mind, like, when we will be voting on something, we'll have the opportunity to bring that, like Jaja will go to her COC board meeting as our co-chair to provide updates, you know, just keeping in mind that we're wanting to make sure, like, okay, we can talk about it here in this space. And then Jaja, like, we have something for you to actually bring to the board to vote on. You know, like, we want to make sure that this thing's getting done, and we want the COC board to vote it, let us know that the continuum says, like, it's cool for us to move forward with doing this, and just starting to think about like that kind of structure. So those are just some of the things that are on my mind for next year. Anyone have any comments on that? Or since we are kind of thinking about the next year, is there anything that any of you have on your minds that you would like for this group to focus on next year? Cool. Alrighty.
I see Devin's hand,
Yeah.
Tom.
Oh, thanks, Jaja. Thanks, Tom. I do, just thinking about, the activity with the continuum of care NOFO, and sort of the moving, guidelines and updates that we've been tracking. I don't know that there's necessarily anything for coordinated entry to take action on or plan for at this time, but just maybe building in some capacity or space to be able to be responsive to that, if that's something that
Right.
is, involves this committee.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Devin. That's huge. That's going to be huge for us. And another thing that's kind of also, if there's any movement or action that needs to take place there, something front loaded into this first quarter of the year. So.
Yeah, and just appreciate, I know I haven't spoken yet, but I really appreciate the work group and you and all of the efforts going into the tool, and I'm excited and also don't want to, lose track of that either. So lots of exciting stuff. Thanks.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, that is our entire agenda for the day. So that's all that we have. So if anyone has a motion to adjourn, we will.
Before we adjourn, Tom, can I just ask Kelsey? If there's anything on the NOFO that the coordinated entry committee could help you support, Kelsey, I don't believe so, but we would like to know if there's anything that we need to do to help you in that, to support the NOFO.
Yeah. I would say at this moment in time, a lot is unknown. I think the biggest help that we will be needing in the coming weeks are with raters. And we'll have to do rater recruitment again. We had a set of raters, but that really depends upon availability when it's happening. So once we know what our timelines look like, we will likely be doing another kind of call for folks to be rating. So that is something that I would say, please keep your eye out for that, and would be a great support.
Thanks, Kelsey, for that. And thank each and every one of you for committing to the coordinated entry, the work group. You guys are absolutely rock stars. What can I say? And it's great that you're working in that, in the provider's function, so that we really have on the ground, boots on the ground, knowing what's needed out there. And I appreciate that about y'all, since that's not my sphere. So I just want to thank each and every one of you for being with us in the 2025 year. Thank you for your support. You're absolutely fabulous. And I know time is very crucial to you in your work. So I want to give that time back. And if anyone wants a motion to adjourn, we can do that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thanks, Eddie. Thanks, Martha. Well, it looks like we've had motions to adjourn in a second. So this motion is to adjourn. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, Hanukkah, and everything. How's that? Kwanzaa, whatever.
All right. Have a good day,
All right.
everybody.
You
Thanks so
too.
much. Have a good day.
Sherry,
Happy holidays.
I'm getting Sherry Tillman. I'm going to email you. Please check your email because I need your phone number.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank
All right.
you.
All right, bye.